Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Obviously, we have a pretty defined meta in Warzone right now. There are top rifles, top SMGs. There is one gun in particular, though, that is getting slept on a lot, that actually has very quietly, very subtly jumped up into a very competitive stance, if you will. It is right up there with some of the top SMGs in the game. Today, I wanted to break down the true stats, figure out the best TTK setup for this gun in particular, show off the fact that it is actually a very, very solid option. The weapon I'm talking about is the STEN. Sort of a sleeper Vanguard SMG. As we go over everything today, if you enjoy the video at any point, let me know by dropping a like on it. And if you're new here, feel free to hit that sub button and turn on those post notifications. That way you can always guarantee you're up to date with everything going on in the world of Call of Duty. So real quick, if we were to look on Warzone ranked and figure out where the STEN ranks among like the most picked weapons, we obviously have things like the Marco, the Blixen, the MP40s up there. We have other SMGs like the MAC-10, surprisingly still being picked a lot, the MP5, the MP7's up there, the PPSH. We'd have to go all the way down into the 0.40% range to find the STEN, which is being picked behind things like the Cold War MP5, the OTS, the well gun, etc., etc. Which is surprising because the STEN is currently a top choice when it comes to what it's able to do in game. So I'm going to take you guys on a journey of figuring out what the best TTK build is for the STEN and how competitive it truly is. So it starts off by figuring out which exact attachments you want to look at. So we're here on True Game Data for the next few bits here. As always, shout out to Tony for putting in the work and getting this information for us. And initially, we want to look at two different STEN builds to figure out which magazine we want to use. Now, of course, we're using recoil booster on all the options here for that best muzzle option to increase that fire rate in the TTK. But for magazines, there's really two choices. We've got the 32 round mags and the 50 round drums. Now, 32 is obviously going to be pushing it for trios and quads, even duos in some cases. 50 is totally fine for all squad sizes. But when we look at the stats here, you'll see our 32 round mag build is a little bit better when it comes to TTK through the first 12 meters. We're looking at a difference of about 1/10 of a second, which in game is not a ton, but it's some. But then you'll notice after 12 meters, when this 32 round mag drops off, the 50 rounds are basically right there or better throughout. Now, you're really not using a sub past this 30-35 meter mark in most cases. So it really, when I look at this, I'm saying, is that 12 meters that important? Now, the recoil here is also something to factor. If we go ahead and we look at the patterns here, you'll notice our 32 round mag, slightly better control, but again, you got to be a lot smarter with your ammo just because it is such a smaller magazine. So for 12 meters of a slightly better TTK, in my opinion, it's just not worth it. There's not enough payoff there. Now, if this was better throughout, if the 50 round had a damage drop off that was more significant, then you would have a different conversation. But to me, the 50 round drums is the way to go. Now, the next step in figuring out what this best setup is to look at the barrels. So we have 50 round drums and the recoil booster equipped with all these, and we have three different barrel options. The short barrel, which is nice and agile and great for like strafe speed and everything. The 348 barrel, which is more that control barrel, more like sniper support, if you will. And then also the rapid barrel, which is all about fire rate. So, you know, focusing on TTK there. And it's honestly a more obvious answer than what I thought. I thought the short barrel and the rapid barrel might be a little bit closer to one another, and honestly I thought that the easy recoil barrel here, the sniper support variant with the 348, was going to be a bit more competitive, but frankly it's just not. There's a significant gap in TTK between the rapid barrel and the 348 barrel. Now, the recoil on the rapid barrel, if we go ahead and look at the stuff, our blue line here, it's a little bit more, there's a little bit more movement here, especially horizontally with the rapid barrel than obviously our pink line here, which is way easier, but that's still not a terrible pattern. There's far worse recoil patterns, as we'll see here momentarily. So just looking at this, it is a very clear and obvious choice. When it comes to just pure TTK, you want to be going for the rapid barrel. If you wanted a super speedy strafe build, the short barrel is an option, but clearly you're not going to be able to outgun other variants of the STEN itself, let alone other weapons, things that we're going to be previewing here in just a moment. So based off those first two graphs, clearly the STEN with the recoil booster, the rapid barrel, and the 50 round drums is the way to go. Decent control, very solid TTK. How about we compare it to other top SMG choices? So we've got the Type 100, the king of the TTKs, with its optimal and best TTK setup with the 36 Russian short. The 48 round drums also work, but the TTK is going to be a little bit worse. The Owen gun, another top TTK SMG that's been very good for quite some time. And of course the Blixen, which I imagine is probably going to be nerfed. Hopefully it doesn't get nerfed in between the time that I'm recording this now and when this video goes up in several days from now. If it does, I'm probably going to be changing shirts at this point in the video and redoing the graph. But if that doesn't happen, I'm in the same shirt, and here we got our data here. So Type 100, pink line, clearly the best TTK throughout, but there's an asterisk there. We'll talk about that momentarily. You can see the Blixen through 12 meters has a slightly better TTK than our orange line here, which is the Sten, but that's a very negligible difference and small difference, one that you're probably not going to feel a ton of in game, if I'm being honest with you. Then it drops off again from 16 to 21 meters. Technically the Blixen is slightly better, but again, a difference that you're not going to be able to notice in game. Then it drops off more harshly, and the Sten over that range there is a second best choice here in terms of pure TTK. The consistency, though, all across the board, where it is the second and third best throughout, just behind the Type 100, is something that's surprising and something that a lot of players really don't notice. Now, you'll notice the Owen gun here, too, decent through the first 18 meters, but then drops off, and it's just not really a competitor. And again, 30-35 meters is about the cap here that we want to look and compare things realistically, because you're not going to be using a sub at 45 meters. So to have, what I'd say is, for the most part, the second best TTK just behind a Type 100, the Sten clearly is able to compete. And if we were to go ahead and look at the control here, that's what tells a huge story. Look at the Type 100's pattern. It is so strange and obnoxious, and this circular motion here, that's going to throw a lot of players off and cause them to miss a lot of shots. So you're going to end up landing more shots with the Sten here, even though the pattern is not necessarily as basic as the Blixen here, which then, 20 bullets and takes sort of a weird horizontal movement. It's still pretty easy to use. The Owen gun, also a lot of significant vertical movement. The Sten, all things considered, is a pretty basic pattern and significantly better than the Type 100. So despite having the second best line here, when you're factoring in accuracy and how many shots you're realistically going to hit, the Sten becomes a lot closer to the Type 100 here and clearly has a top TTK in the game. So when it comes to the general most optimal build here, obviously, as we saw in the graph, we're going for recoil booster, the rapid barrel for the best fire rate, which also ends up helping your horizontal control too, which is a pretty nice bonus, and of course the 50 round drums. By the way, it said 32 on the site, 36 is what it actually is in game. That 4 bullet difference is not going to make or break that magazine, in my opinion. The 14 extra bullets you get with 50 is a lot more significant, right? Now, when it comes to the optic, personally, I like the slate reflector. You can also try like a variant of the iron sights if you like those. I just find myself to be a lot more consistent with the red dot on there instead. For the stock, I love using the para. It's pretty basic, just better sprint to fire, better movement speed as well, so it's going to be nice and agile while maintaining that really good TTK. For the underbarrel, you got several options here. You, in theory, could use the strife angle if you wanted to. There is a lot of horizontal movement there, so that could help out with that. Compact, though, for that better strafe speed is a great choice. Steady for the better control is a great choice. Skeletal for better ADS and movement is also a great choice. Hand stop is usable as well. I think steady is going to be the most consistent here. You get a little bit of control in both areas, and it also helps out with hip fire too, so sort of a win-win there. I'd be going for either hollow point, frangible, or subsonic here. Subsonic, I feel like, is the most rewarding. Rear grip, you got plenty of options yet again. If you wanted to use leather for a better ADS, use that. If you wanted to use polymer for better control, use that. If you wanted to use hatched for better control, use that. I still think taped is the go-to here for that better movement speed. Perk 1, we're going to end up going for acrobatic, again stacking more movement speed and consistency there, just making it nice and fast, and then also quick on there too for that better sprint speed. And you got a very fast, very strong SMG setup that a ton of players are sleeping on right now. Would highly recommend trying this out and seeing how you like it. But that said, that is going to wrap things up for this one. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, let me know by dropping a like on it. And if you're new here, or if you have not already subscribed, every day I got you covered with all things going on in COD. So feel free to hit that sub button and turn on those post notifications. That way you can always guarantee you are up to date. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy. Have an awesome rest of your day. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.